Letter of Ignatios to the Magnesians, Chapter 1. Ignatios, also called the God-bearer, to the assembly in Magnesia, which is near the Meandros, and which is blessed with the favor of God the Father through the Anointed One Jesus our Savior. I greet you and wish you every joy in God the Father and in Jesus the Anointed One. I have learned of the perfect order of your love toward God. And so, it is with great joy in the faith of Jesus the Anointed One that I have decided to address you. For as one who had been deemed worthy of a name so dear to God, I sing in the chains I bear about with me the praise of the assemblies. I pray that the assemblies may have unity in the flesh and spirit of Jesus the Anointed One, who is our everlasting life. A union in both faith and love, which is to be preferred to everything else. But, above all, union with Jesus and the Father, through whom we shall attain God, if only we endure and escape from the wanton attacks of the chief of the age. Therefore, since it was possible for me to see you in the person of your God-worthy overseer, Damas, and the worthy elders, Basos and Apollonios, and my fellow slave, the minister Zotionos, may I continue to have joy in him, because he is obedient to the overseer as to the favor of God, and to the elders as to the law of Jesus the Anointed One. But it also ill becomes you to take advantage of the youth of your overseer. Instead, you should show him all respect in accordance with the power of God the Father. This, I understand, even the holy elders do. They take no advantage of his youthful appearance. Instead, they yield to him as to one who is mindful in God. But of course, not merely to him. Instead, to the Father of Jesus the Anointed One, who is the overseer over all. Therefore, to the honor of him who loves us, you must obey without any insincerity. Because in this case, one does not so much deceive the overseer, who can be seen, but instead seeks to outwit the one who is invisible. But all such conduct must not be accounted to flesh, but rather with God, who knows our hidden thoughts. Therefore, it is not enough to be Christians in name, rather, to be so in reality. So also, there are indeed those who use the name of overseer, while their actions are without any regard for him. But such men, it seems to me, are lacking in good conscience, for they do not gather together regularly according to the commandment. Therefore, seeing that all things have an end, two things are set before us, both the death and the life, and each of us will depart to his appropriate place. For, as there are two kinds of coins, indeed, the one of God, but the other of the world, and each is stamped in its own way, so the unfaithful have the stamp of the world, but the faithful have the stamp of God the Father through Jesus the Anointed One in love. unless we freely choose to die through him unto his suffering, his life is not in us. Chapter 2. Therefore, in the persons which I have previously mentioned, I have beheld your whole multitude in faith and love. And so, I exhort you to be careful and to do all things in the harmony of God. The overseer presiding in the place of God, and the elders in the place of the congress of the envoys, and the ministers who are so dear to me, are entrusted with a ministry of Jesus the Anointed One, who before the ages was with the Father and appeared to us at the end. Therefore, let all of you respect one another in conformity with God's will. And let no man regard his neighbor with eyes of flesh. Instead, in Jesus the Anointed One, love one another at all times. Let there be nothing among you to divide you. Instead, be united with the overseer and with those who are set over you, so that you may afford a model and teaching of incorruptibility. Therefore, in the same way that the Lord, being one with the Father, did nothing, either in his own person or through the envoys, without the Father, so none of you should do anything without the overseer and the elders. Nor should you try to make something out to be reasonable, merely because it seems so to you personally. Instead, let there be one prayer, one petition, one mind, one hope in love, in blameless joy, which is Jesus the Anointed One, who is the most excellent of all. All of you, hasten together as to one inner sanctum of God, to one sacrificial altar, to one Jesus the Anointed One, who proceeded forth from one Father, and in whom he is, and to whom he has returned. Do not be led astray by different opinions, nor by old fables which are unprofitable. For to now go on living according to Judaism is to deny that we have received favor. For remember that the most divine prophets lived according to the Anointed One Jesus, and for this reason they were persecuted. They were inspired by his favor, so that the unbelievers might be fully assured that there is one God, who has manifested himself in Jesus the Anointed One, his Son, who is his account proceeding forth from silence, and who, in all things, was pleasing to him who sent him. Therefore, how shall we be able to live apart from him, seeing that the prophets were his disciples in the Spirit, and expected him as their master? And that those who were brought up in the old order have come to a newness of hope. They no longer observe Sabbaths. Instead, they keep the Lord's Day, on which, through him and through his death, our life arose. And through this mystery, which some deny, we have received the faith. And so we persevere in the hope that we may be found as disciples of Jesus the Anointed One, our only teacher. And because of this mystery, he, whom the prophets rightly waited for, came and raised them from the dead. Therefore, let us not be ungrateful for his kindness. For were he to reward us according to our words, we should cease to exist. So, let us become his disciples. Let us learn to live a life that Christianity calls for. For no one with any other name than this can belong to God. Therefore, put away the bad leaven, which is old and stale, and be converted into the new leaven, which is Jesus the Anointed One. Be salted with him, lest any one of you should be utterly destroyed, since by your scent will you be judged. It is unsuitable to preach Jesus the Anointed One and to practice Judaism. For Christianity did not believe in Judaism, but instead, Judaism in Christianity. It was in this that every tongue believed and were gathered together in God. But do not think that I have heard that any among you, my beloved, are practicing Judaism. Instead, I say these things, small as I am in comparison with yourselves, to forewarn you against being caught on the hooks of vain teaching. Instead, I hope that you may be fully convinced of the birth and the suffering and the resurrection which took place during the season of the leadership of Pontius Pilatus. These things were truly and certainly done by Jesus the Anointed One, our hope. And may none of you be turned aside from this hope. Chapter 3. If only I am worthy, I hope I may have joy in you in every way. For though I am in bonds, in comparison with any of you who are at liberty, I am no one. I know that none of you are conceited, for all of you have Jesus the Anointed One within you. And when I praise you, I know that you reprove yourselves more than ever, because it is written, "The righteous man is his own accuser." Therefore, be eager to be established in the decrees of the Lord and the envoys, so that in whatever you do, you may prosper in flesh and spirit, in faith and love, in the Son and the Father, and in the Spirit, in the beginning and in the end, along with your most worthy overseer, and the elders, the spiritual wreath that so worthily crowns him, and the ministers, who are men of God. Be subject to your overseer, and to one another, as Jesus the Anointed One in the flesh was subject to the Father, and as the envoys were subject to the Anointed One and the Father. In this way, there may be a union, both fleshly and spiritual. I have exhorted you briefly, because I know that you are full of God. Remember me in your prayers, so that I may attain God, and also the assembly in Syria, from where I am not worthy enough to derive my name. For I need your united prayer and love in God, if the assembly in Syria may be deemed worthy of being bedewed by your assembly. From Smyrna, where I am writing to you, the Ephesians salute you, and they are with me like yourselves, for the glory of God, and have been an unfailing consolation to me. So too, Polycarp, the overseer of the Smyrnians, but all the other assemblies too, salute you in honor of Jesus the Anointed One, trusting that you may remain in the harmony of God, possessed by an unwavering spirit, which is Jesus the Anointed One. Farewell.